Your typical keyboard is based on a design that hasn't changed in over 140 years. That's old school. My Planck turns it on its head, removes 56 extra keys, and gives me a productivity machine in about a third of the space. Even though it's just 40% of the size, I believe I'm 200% more productive when using it. Why? Let's find out in this Tech I Want review. So the Planck is a 40% keyboard. That means no number pad, no arrows, no function keys, not even a number row. Just 47, or in my case 48 keys within reach right under your fingertips. And that's the first reason why I love this keyboard: reduced finger travel and hand movement. If you learned how to touch type, you'll remember what those bumps on the F and J keys are, so you can find the home row. Why? Because that's where your index finger should always return to, with your other 4 fingers on each hand spread over the next 4 keys, and both thumbs hovering over that large spacebar. I typed like that for years, but recently I was looking at the way I type and realized that my hands are generally jumping around the keyboard. I still achieve above 90 words per minute, and I don't need to look at the keys, but because I need to engage the programming symbols, backspace, return, jumping over the number pad for a quick calculation, my hands end up being up in the air more than they're ever resting on the home row. So the Planck reduces all that hand travel by bringing all those keys to you. Reason number 2, layers. Think of layers like how your Control, Alt, or even Shift keys work. If you press the number 2 on a regular keyboard without holding down any other buttons, you get a 2. But if you hold down the Shift key, you get the @ sign. If you press an A by itself, you get a lowercase a. Hold down the Shift, and all of a sudden you've got an uppercase A. Simple, everyday knowledge that we're all so familiar with, we might not even realize what's going on under the cover. But the Planck takes this one step further. I might have done away with the physical number pad on the right-hand side, but it's actually right here. All I need to do is layer shift, and all of a sudden this 3x3 set of keys becomes a number pad. Same thing with the function keys on the other side. I mean, you can't see it, neither can I, but that's because they're all just in my mind. So I know what you're thinking. How can I remember where all those keys are if they're not printed right there on the keycaps? So I started off by setting my desktop image as my most used layers. If I ever needed a reminder, I'd just swap over to it to find the key that I needed. But you quickly get used to where they are. Just like shortcuts, there's no copy written on the Control or the C key, but that's the combination. And whenever you need to use it, Control C, boom, copy. It's quickly learned and it becomes muscle memory in no time. But the thing I love most about this mechanical keyboard is its customizability and extensibility. The Planck's open source design and firmware and the helpful community out there mean that with almost no effort, you can truly make your keyboard yours. Wanna have some special symbol happen when you press these 2 keys and a T? Boom, done. You wanna hold these 2 layer shift keys and press S to control the volume? Done. Pretty much any keyboard-based signal that can be sent can be programmed directly into the keyboard. And unlike those auto key programs that sit atop your Windows, Mac, or Linux where you can create custom maps of keys to functions, they'll only work on that PC. With the Planck, once you've flashed your custom firmware to your keyboard, it will act the way you want it no matter where you plug it in. Need special symbols when you're typing on your iPad? Done. Need it on your Mac, PC? Doesn't matter. And as with anything related to efficiency, it takes an initial time investment to save time in the future. I've spent hours playing around with the layout, learning it, relearning it, seeing what other people are doing it, changing it some more, all to have a layout that is fully personalized to my case. It's not for everyone. I totally understand that. It takes time to get things the way you want, but once you do, if you want to put in that time, you'll definitely love the keyboard you come up with. Thinking about where to put keys really opened the doors for me to new layouts. And this isn't necessarily a benefit of this keyboard per se, but getting it was the reason I started considering switching. Because even though I'd been typing on a QWERTY layout my whole life, I started thinking there must be better layouts. What I found out blew my mind. Not only are there more common though generally unknown Dvorak and Coleman layouts, each attempting to improve on the flaws of the 140-year-old QWERTY system, by bringing the most used keys to the home row, but there are hundreds of micro improvements and weird layouts, each attempting to optimize for something. Is it better to have the 10 most common keys on the home row, or should you optimize for roles? Like the, you know, T-H-E combination is pretty common. The, there, then, other, mother, father. And right now, if you have to type it, you have to jump around on the keyboard to find those keys. But what if there was a layout that you could just roll, boom, the, other, done. And these layouts exist. Beagle, MT Gap, Workman, Colmac, Capewell. Some of them are pretty extreme, but have sound logical reasoning behind them. Like putting one of the most common letters, I, under your thumb. I mean, think about it, that's crazy. And one even goes so far as to analyze the difference between the occurrence of uppercase and lowercase letters, meaning that your A key, shifted, might be a P. I know, nuts. And I'm not there yet, but who knows? And as we're talking about layouts, let's have a look at the other obvious difference between the Planck and your regular keyboards. Pretty much all keyboards out there have a horizontally staggered layout, like this one. This is a leftover from the typewriter days. If you look down at each row, each set of keys is slightly further to the right. It might be a half size, it might be a quarter size, but they're not on top of one another. This was done so that the levers on a typewriter could all be evenly spaced and wouldn't interfere with one another as you type. While this probably isn't true, what is true is that this layout does not optimize for human ergonomics. The Planck reimagines the keyboard stagger by, well, removing it. Your hands aren't bent to the left or the right, so why should your keys be? Instead, the Planck uses an orthogonal layout with all keys evenly spaced on a 4x12 grid. It took a little bit of getting used to, but now it makes much more sense. Someday, I might even review my Corn Split keyboard, which has a vertical stagger, as that is the true nature of your fingers. The other major layout difference is the absence of a long spacebar. Why? Well, you have two powerful thumbs, and you're limiting both of them to doing the simple, singular job of pressing one key. So the Planck puts your thumbs to work, so you can use them to shift layers, press the spacebar, return, or anything else you can think of. And the thing I really fell in love with in the world of mechanical keyboards is the community. People geeking out over whether they should switch the I and the U, coming up with optimization algorithms, sharing open source layer configurations, and even coming up with the keyboards themselves. The Planck was designed by Jack Humbert, who released all the plans and open source customizable firmware 100% for free. You could essentially go out and print your own Planck keyboard. At Tech I Want, we love crowdfunding and these crowdfunding communities, and while people usually only consider Kickstarter and Indiegogo as the crowdfunding sites, there are other amazing communities out there, like where I got this keyboard, Drop.com. It's not 100% the same crowdfunding model, but they do have an active community of creators and backers centered around two specific niches: keyboards and audio. Drop partners with high-end manufacturers, including Sennheiser and Bose, for their audio products, and engages their community through polls and discussions to create new and exclusive community-driven products. You can pre-order the Planck on Drop for about $110, but it comes without keycaps or key switches. Or you can buy a pre-made version from Ergodox EZ for about $245. I'd recommend you go for the first option and enjoy the process of building it yourself. But watch out! The world of mechanical keyboards is deep. And if you're not careful, you might end up with over $50, $200 keyboards lining some custom shelf you built to display them in, or desiring that latest custom keyboard worth tens of thousands of dollars, because they exist. But right now, Planck, $110, good stuff. So whether you go for a full mechanical keyboard like this one, or something more minimal like my Planck, and you decide to build it yourself, the result remains the same. Mechanical keyboards are awesome, they're a joy to type on, and I think you and everyone else should be typing on them today. Even Rafi, wherever he is. So if you like this video, you like keyboards, you like what we're doing, please like and subscribe. It really helps motivate us to keep going and really pushes us to create better content. Until next week, I'm Dan, and this was Tech I Want.